have a future that is a personal future, and we have futures within our countries and within our organizational structures. Unless you on an organizational level and group level have a common future that you're working towards, your unconscious future is what is going to happen.
There are synergies between some of the experiences we have in South Africa and what other countries are experiencing in Brazil and India in particular. There's a lot that each of us has experienced in different ways that we could share with one another and help us all to move towards some tipping points of success in the work that we're doing.
In India, Brazil and South Africa, many people don't have access to electricity or energy at all. And it's not going to change if the energy policy is continuously being driven by middle class, upper class and the industry.
It's important to understand the limitations of what others are doing and not pretend that you can start doing it the next day.
With respect to energy policy, we are in many ways operating exactly like apartheid South Africa. Some things are even worse. Economic inequality is worse now than at the end of apartheid. Why has the rate of inequality risen? Because South Africa is an extractive economy based on rent-seeking by small elites. But essentially, because we have a utility monopoly wholly owned by the state, one can look at electricity tariffs as a form of tax. Obviously, when the government is married into the minerals energy complex, it's not going to be particularly proactive about energy that will not bring it a profit. Up to now, we've been producing big energy for big users, and we're saying, but how about we produce small energy for everybody instead?
O Brasil, em geral conhecido aí como a sétima, talvez a sexta já, né, economia do mundo, né, porém, né, como já uma contradição, possui o 85º, né, Índice de Desenvolvimento Humano. Também figura entre os 5 maiores emissores de dióxido de carbono, né, entre 3% e 4% das emissões globais. 7º país com maior acesso à energia elétrica, né, esse dado aí do Banco Mundial, mas a gente questiona um pouco, né, porque de fato ainda há muitas comunidades no Brasil que não possuem acesso à energia elétrica.
O Brasil ele tem planos, né, internacionais, através de convênios e acordos, de ser o maior exportador de biocombustíveis. A gente sabe que o modelo de produção desses agrocombustíveis, tanto da cana como da soja, né, são modelos agrícolas de alta concentração de terras, demandas de muita quantidade de água, envolve expulsão das famílias tradicionais de suas localidades e também muito uso de pacotes tecnológicos como agrotóxicos, fertilizantes. E um dos principais problemas também detectados dentro dessa produção de agrocombustíveis está a contaminação do meio ambiente e da saúde das pessoas por agrotóxicos.
Esse modo de energia que aparentemente é divulgado como um modo de energia limpo, na prática, na experiência concreta das comunidades, acabam significando violação de direitos territoriais, de direito à alimentação, do direito ao meio ambiente saudável, do direito à liberdade e também de direitos humanos.
We are the second largest population, which stands at about 1.27 billion, next only to China. And the World Energy Outlook study of 2011 says that we would supersede China by 2025. 35% of our population has no access to electricity of any kind. There's a huge disparity in the urban and rural infrastructure in terms of access as well as in infrastructure because of the centralized grid supply. In terms of the quality of power, it's fairly poor, with outages from 2 to 20 hours on a daily basis and more than 16 hours in rural areas.
The issue of energy impacts everything to do with poor people's lives, both directly and indirectly. And it's one of the several amenities and services that are generally not accessible to the poor, or that if they are accessible to the poor, they often pay 3 times more.
Como estas fontes novas, o solo, os ventos, a biomassa, o movimento natural das águas, não estão incluídos nas matrizes oficiais de produção de energia, então há pouco recurso público, há pouco incentivo, há pouca vontade de aplicar recursos. E isso faz com que, nos nossos países em particular, os preços de instalação destas iniciativas sejam mais altos.
A lot of communities in South Africa live in circumstances that are not conducive to dignity, and that are certainly not conducive to a sense of security and ownership of your daily circumstances. So there are all sorts of ways in which community realities can shift around better energy supply.
One common thing about renewable energy and institutions that provide social service is that by making them energy autonomous with solar systems, they're independent from the running costs from rising electricity prices and can invest this money in the social services that they provide.
This one is 48 panels and 36 panels there.
The policy framework in South Africa currently does not allow for smaller household scale installations to connect to the grid and being paid for the electricity that they feed into the grid.
You know, as farmers in South Africa, we've always been interested in sustainability, but there was never really a term for it. You know, it was just the way we did things. We took 2009 as a base, and we set ourselves a target in 5 years to halve our energy consumption. And after 3 years, we save 44%. In my short period of time that I've been involved in renewables and the pace at which things are changing in the world at present, I would say that in 10 to 20 years' time, these big power stations would be redundant. They would be there just to provide power for the guys that are going to get it for free. But big energy users will produce their own. I don't know, that's what I think, if I'm a prophet.
A discussão que a gente faz no Brasil é que o problema central é o modelo energético. Para você pensar qual a forma mais justa de produzir energia, você tem que ver para que e para quem essa energia é produzida. E o que a gente vê é que a energia em geral ela é produzida para as grandes empresas, principalmente para as empresas transnacionais, que são as mesmas que destroem o nosso país, que destroem a natureza, que aumentam as desigualdades, que deixam o nosso povo em situação de miséria.
The multinationals and huge industries are controlling the energy. The poor have no access. See, this is a crucial thing in all the 3 countries I noticed.
O próprio governo recolhe recursos e os utiliza para subsidiar as empresas que mais gastam energia e tem um preço mais baixo do que na residência. Então, nesse sentido, eu digo, as próprias políticas ligadas à energia, elas são políticas de empobrecimento.
And the biggest obstacle actually is the power of those who are benefiting from the old system. And the old system is the production of and the consumption of coal to produce energy and nuclear on the other side.
São essas camadas privilegiadas aquelas que têm maior responsabilidade, mas são as que menos pagam o preço desses fenômenos climáticos provocados por essas mudanças.
Politicians tend to follow the way they know, and if we want to achieve change, they need pressure from above. They need people who tell them, I'm not happy with the situation as it is. And sometimes people on the ground are not strong enough, so they need to organize together to have a joint voice.
We heard from the Germans, about how they oppose the dumping of nuclear waste and how the Brazilians are opposed to the dams. But a lot of that starts at the grassroots level. It's not necessarily academics and institutions, it's people saying, we've had enough.
We do have much in common in Brazil, India, South Africa, but also in Germany. And this is that we need to reclaim back the power to the people and to tell our governments and then to other parts of the society that there are solutions which are different and that there are many, many winners of this development to get an energy transition and not only losers.
Politicians are voted into power. They don't assume power without being mandated to assume that power. So we believe that it's very important to remind people of the power they have to influence policymakers and to influence politicians in particular.
Conscious citizens in Brazil, South Africa, India, wherever in the global south, want to move from being a passive electricity consumer to be an active player in the energy market. But often they are not allowed.
A nossa luta vai na linha de que toda a energia seja pública e não mercadoria privada e vendida.
Renewable energy is not removed from corporations' influence. Whether we like it or not, when we're lobbying for renewable energy, we still have to lobby for the very principles that we want it to be based on. At this point in time, we say we want renewable energy, and right now in South Africa, we have this program of renewable energy, independent power producers, but the very communities which it's being done don't really see the benefit, and when they do see the benefit, it's only minuscule, or it causes more conflict. So how do we change the systematic thinking, behind the corporations that renewable energy is not for them, but it's for everyone, and likewise, all the natural resources.
Climate mitigation, to preserve the climate, is not an obstacle, especially not for the poorer communities in these countries. We've seen wonderful examples of how sustainable energy solutions are coming together with the need of the poor to get access to energy, which they are lacking in most cases.
We've certainly seen in the communities that we work within that as prices drop, communities are buying components. They are buying solar panels. They are seeing the opportunities to have a wide range, variety of energy sources to draw on, and they're not staying solely dependent on the grid.
A energia do sol está em todo lado, então nós podemos produzi-la descentralizadamente, ganhando mais eficiência, perdendo menos nos fios, no transporte e dando mais autonomia às próprias famílias, às casas, às comunidades.
The three factors that are going to be a game changer in this renewable energy supply space in particular is that you have a local manufacturing sector which is growing, demand which is growing, and prices which are dropping. And you've got consumer insight and awareness which is changing. People want to have energy security and independence.